Listen to these words, for they may determine your next course of action. This is your official name brand League of Melanated Gentlemen spoiler warning. We are issuing this spoiler warning not only for the piece of media or content that is in the title of this episode, but also for the world or the universe in which that piece of media or content exists. If you are not caught up, I would highly recommend you pause my voice, you catch yourself up, and then you join us once again. If you are all the way caught up and or if spoilers do not offend you, please enjoy. Welcome to the League of Melanated Gentlemen podcast. I am one of your hosts. I am Spenser, and I'm here today to give you one of many reviews that we have coming up here on the League of Melanated Gentlemen podcast. I am joined by the other two members of the League of Melanated Gentlemen who have come here today to give you their view, their professional opinions, and their perspective on the reviewing material we have for you today.
Yeah, this is Brandon.
And I'm Jordan.
Now, before we get into the meat of the episode, we have a couple of things to discuss. So, firstly, as I'm sure you know, because you've been here before, or maybe you haven't. And if you haven't, you might not know that we are on the socials. Jordan, can you tell them where they can find us?
Yeah, of course, they can find us on Facebook at the League of Melanated Gentlemen podcast. It is a Facebook group, so be sure and check that out. We are all in there. We're talking with people all the time and communicating with the people. We're also on Twitter at the LMG podcast. We need them followers up. We're almost at 100. We're about halfway there. So we just need more of those. We're also on YouTube at the League of Melanated Gentlemen podcast, where all our episodes have been updated there. So you can either listen to whatever streaming service you use or YouTube. Be sure to like and subscribe on YouTube as well. And then be sure and rate and review us on whatever streaming service you use.
Yes. And we have some things coming up this week.
Yeah, we do. So on Monday, you're listening to this episode. So that's when, these episodes come out. And then on Wednesday, we have Wrestling with Worldwide Willis. That is Brandon's podcast, where he talks about the latest happenings in the wrestling world. And then on this Friday, we have DC Animation with Spenser and Friends. And that is a podcast where Spenser and Friends review, the latest DC, not the latest, but in order of the DC animated movies. This week, we have a Batman movie coming out.
Yes, episode 8 should be a good time.
Yeah, episode 8. So yeah, be sure and check all of those podcasts out as well.
Okay, so as I'm sure you were aware by the title, we are reviewing today Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. As is typically the layout with these episodes, I will read a synopsis in my own words, and then we're just going to talk about it. So I guess let's get straight into it, shall we?
Sure.
So we open to Gwen drumming with her band and recapping the first movie. We then learn that Gwen Stacy accidentally killed her Earth's version of Peter Parker because he made himself into the Lizard. Her father, a police officer who does not know that his daughter is, spidering out here, gets the cops to hunt her down because, as far as he saw, she killed his daughter's best friend. Officer Stacy gets a report of some nonsense happening at the museum, so of course, Gwen makes her way there as well and finds an Italian Renaissance version of the Vulture from a different universe just causing a ruckus. Some other spider people show up on the scene, Miguel and Jess Drew, to help with the situation. They are able to subdue the Vulture, but then Gwen's father tries to arrest her. She reveals to him that she is his daughter, and he is shooketh. But he continues to Mirandize her. Jess Drew wants her to join the Spider Society, and after some light convincing, Miguel bestows her with a membership bracelet. On Miles' Earth, he has been, getting used to this whole Spider-Man thing. And he's also juggling that and being a gifted high school student. On his way to a parent-teacher conference, he is brought face to non-face with Spot, a former scientist who was turned into a portal generator after the events of the first movie and Miles' self-proclaimed arch nemesis. In the first round, Miles is able to defeat him and arrive to the parent-teacher conference where he expresses interest in attending Princeton so that he can learn to travel between universes because he really misses Gwen. Spot gets back and they go through a second round of, battle where Spot ends up inside of himself and he learns that he can travel to different universes. With that, he intends to find worlds with Alchemix colliders so that he can make himself pretty much unstoppable. Miles' dad is having a party because he was made captain, and Miles is supposed to bring a cake, but because of Spider-Manning, he shows up super late to the party. He decides not to tell his parents about the whole Spider-Man thing, and so he ends up getting grounded. Gwen shows up to reconnect with Miles, telling him, a few things about her new gig. And of course, he wants to join her on her escapades. She's actually there to investigate the Spot situation. She is able to replay the events and finds that he went to Earth 50101 or 50101. So she goes there and Miles secretly follows her there. There, Miles meets Indian Spider-Man and Spider-Punk. Unfortunately, they are not able to stop Spot from absorbing the collider from that Earth. Miles has a vision of Spot killing his father after the collider incident, and then Miles and the other spider people have to help save a bunch of people because there's just a whole lot of stuff happening after the collider incident with Spot. And among the people who are saved, that includes a police captain, the father of Indian Spider-Man's girlfriend. After doing that, the Earth that they're on starts collapsing, and the four of them are called back to headquarters. Miles is introduced to a massive spider society, and he meets with Miguel. He also sees Peter B. Parker, who now has a daughter. Miguel then explains canon events, which basically come down to every Spider-Man needing to have certain experiences in order for the world and potentially the multiverse not to collapse. Miles is told that the death of his father is quote-unquote supposed to happen, and Miles is like, no, fuck that. So Miguel tries to imprison him, but Miles breaks out and runs. The entire Spider Nation is after him, and eventually Miguel catches him and tells him that he was a mistake and that he should have never become Spider-Man and that this is all his fault for pretty much existing. He is able to escape and he wants to transport himself home. Gwen gets fired from the society and is sent home where she and her father are able to put aside their differences, and Gwen learns that her father has quit the Force. With that being the case, Gwen realizes that canon events are not the end-all be-all, so she decides to help Miles with a little assistance from Spider-Punk, who is also unemployed, but by choice. Miles gets to the apartment and tells his mom that he is Spider-Man, and she has no idea what he's talking about. Miles then sees his uncle. He sees that his father is dead, glitches and realizes that he is not on his own Earth. He is on the Earth that belongs to the spider that bit him, Earth 42. Miles gets knocked the fuck out, and Gwen explains to Miles' parents that she is going to find Miles and that Miles loves them very much. When Miles wakes up, he tells his uncle who he is, and he is then confronted by the Miles of Earth 42, who is Prowler. Gwen puts together a squad of spider people to help locate Miles, and we, the audience, are left dangling from a giant cliff. Credits.
Great job, as always.
Yeah. Great work. Great work.
Brandon, I'd like to start with you.
We sure?
Before we give our initial thoughts, can we did we run a spoiler warning?
Oh, we didn't.
We didn't. Good call.
It's it might be a little late, but
we put it in the beginning of the episode. How about that?
Yeah.
We for that.
Yeah, you heard it. So
Working magic. Yeah.
Also, what I guess before we start, well, Brandon, after you tell us your thoughts, give us, scale of 1 to 10, your initial thoughts before we talk about it.
Okay. Do we want to do our teaching moments first?
Well, probably no. Let's talk about. Let's give initial thoughts, then we'll do teaching moments.
Okay.
We're working on formatting these episodes, and we haven't landed on what we are going to go with moving forward, or we may format every episode differently. Stay tuned to see how that goes. But
fluid situation. Okay, we're starting with me first.
Yes.
Okay, you want my rating? Out of 10, I'm giving it. So the first one I believe I gave it an 8 or a 9. I can't remember. Like in general, I think I'm probably go with a 9 for that one. So for this one, I'll probably go with an 8.
Yeah.
Solid 8.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So my thoughts. I thought it was a good movie. I know I am of the rare kind. I feel like I got on the internet and it was like a love. Like everyone is just in love and just like, oh my God, this changed the whole movie game. There's never been a movie as good as this. And it's just like, all right, let's relax. I think obviously it was a fun movie to watch. Visually, it was beautiful. But I did have some issues. I think this movie is a lot more stuff and less story. It's a lot of coming at you. Like I was struggling just in the first bit before we got like the intro and then Miles, like the Gwen part. I was a struggle to watch, honestly. Like to keep up with. It was just with the Vulture and then the Gwen, and then there's a lot of mess going on. I felt like, and that scene lasted a long time. And then yeah, it was just a lot going on. Also, you guys know how I feel about Spider-Man. Not the biggest fan, right? I'm not in the fan club.
And the fact that this movie showed 1 million of them,
I know.
Exactly. You
the
knew.
fact that I thought about Brandon in the theater when this movie was going on, I was like, this dude.
Yeah, bro.
Whenever we got to the society, and there were just a plethora. I was like, oh, Brandon over here, mad.
He's somewhere huffing and puffing right now.
Yeah, it's not necessarily Spider-Man. I mean, they've done this with 1 million characters, but it seems like Spider-Man, they OD'd on the we got to have 90 million thousand Spider-Man just to, because he's so cool, I guess. But yeah, it was just too many Spider-Man in the movie. Like we paid way less attention to Miles and way more attention to these ramps. Like Spider-Punk, like who cares? The Indian Punk, I think he has I forgot his name, his actual name. He was funny. Like, he was good.
I think it was just Spider-Man in India.
In the comic book, that's kind of how he's just Spider-Man, but to differentiate him, he is.
Yeah. Oh, gotcha.
It's like Spider-Man India.
Gotcha. He was funny. He was good. But the rest of them, nah, not a fan. Even Spider-Man 2099, yeah, okay. I was a little upset with Spot. I love Spot. Spot was great, especially in his first form. Great. funny, relatable, all those things. Then halfway through the movie, it just drops off a cliff. We don't really see a spot like that anymore. Like we just see some super, super dark, whatever character, you know what I mean? It just lost the entire feel for that character. Like I didn't relate with that character at all once he turned into that other form. And yeah, I mean, to keep it brief, I wish we would have way more parent interaction. The parent scenes, the best scenes in the movie to me. The scenes with the mom, best scene in the movie. Like the party, all that stuff, great. And then the ending, I mean, what are we doing? Like I didn't want to sit here for 2.5 hours to get a to be continued. Like what? Like what are we doing? This ain't Infinity War. Like this ain't, you know what I mean? Like this ain't Endgame. What are we doing? You know? And people were just like, oh yeah. I'm like, no. I walked out the movie mad. I'm like, wait, what? Like it was literally that black woman in my theater was like, wait, what? And we all died laughing because it was just like, really? That's where we're gonna leave it at? Like we're not even gonna give us even close to a conclusion. Who knows what's about to happen? Probably movie won't come out for another probably 3, maybe 2, probably 3.
No, they fast tracking that.
Nah, this movie. When did the first one come out?
18, I think.
2018. Yeah.
Yeah, 5. That's 5 years.
Yeah,
so,
but this is a 2-parter.
Okay.
Which I didn't know it was going to be a 2-parter. I knew they were going to have 2 movies, but I didn't know it was going to be a 2-parter.
No one knew until you left the theater, and I was pissed. But yeah, I'll let y'all do your thing.
Jordan.
Wow. I mean, that's shocking to me. But for me, I would definitely say I love the first one. Fantastic. This one is a 10 out of 10 for me. At least walking out of theater, my initial reaction was 10 out of 10. I love, like Brandon mentioned, the parent moments. Like I legit almost, I took my daughter to the movie and she was with me watching it. I almost legit shed a tear as Miles was like talking to his mom. Bro, I swear I've got so soft. It don't make no sense how soft I've gotten. Like twice in the movie, I almost teared up. So yeah, man, but this one was fantastic. I loved seeing all the different versions of Spider-Man. Fantastic. I love Spot. Spot was amazing. Miles loved it. I loved like you see him actually kind of grew up from the first one because I watched the first one the day before, just can kind of do some homework on it. So you can definitely tell the difference between him now. I mean, him in the first movie and kind of him in the second movie. The movie it was fantastic. Like I said, I loved every single Spider-Man we saw. Spider-Man Punk was nice. Like I didn't like the way he looked visually sometimes with him changing colors. I wasn't a big fan of that, but I mean I got over it. My biggest critique though of the movie, I got 2 things, and I guess this kind of been reported a lot though. But in the beginning of the movie, did you guys audio sound kind of low with the whole beginning part with Gwen talking to like the whole Gwen backstory? Was that low for y'all?
Yeah,
no,
the volume was low.
It wasn't. I mean, it wasn't to the point where I like struggled to hear it. Like I guess I wasn't bothered by it because I was still able to get everything.
Oh, it was pretty low for us. Like people actually stopped eating. Like you hear people like moving their bag and stuff, and then once they kind of realized like this kind of hard to hear, you kind of stopped hearing people like move around so much. And then also I wasn't a huge fan of Gwen's world with the art direction that they chose to go with. I wasn't a big fan of that until kind of towards the end when it was like bleeding when she was like finally revealing her emotions to her dad and all that, and you kind of see a change as well. I was a fan of that, but overall, I wasn't a fan of it at the beginning. This movie, there was so much with this movie. Like they went to so many different universes. You seen the art style change all the time. That was amazing. They even went to the Venom universe, which was fantastic. We'll get into it later. But I just think overall the movie was amazing and super random. But we had 3 flies in our theater, and the flies kept flying on. I went to AMC and watched Adobe Digital. They had 3 flies that kept going on the little screen, and so you would see these flies like on the screen, and everybody's like, like what's going on? So then one of the workers came in with a fly swatter, and me and my daughter was like towards the back so we can see him. So you see him kind of like crouching with the fly swatter, looking, and all of a sudden on the screen, you'll just see a pop, and you'll hear this is a big pop. after like the third time, everybody was like in the theater was like cracking up. And then when he finally like got all of the flies, everybody's like, yeah, like it was pretty good. But
That's funny.
yeah, overall,
See, that's an
man,
experience.
yeah, it was real experience.
Shout out to him.
But overall, man, I really loved the movie. It was amazing. Spencer, what do you think?
I thought it was very, very good. I'm 9.5 out of 10. I don't think, I mean, we haven't gotten into the details yet, but there's nothing I can really point to that I had a problem with in this movie. There was nothing that I can say like that was a bad decision or I just really didn't like it or I was against it. The only thing that I could point to was I knew this was a part 1 situation, but it didn't end. And Brandon brought up Infinity War and Endgame earlier. We knew that Infinity War was going to continue with the next movie, but Infinity War still ended.
Right.
And I feel like this movie didn't end. And
yeah, it was just yeah, exactly.
And that is, if I were going to give any criticism, that's really the only one that I have, is that this movie didn't end. And I don't like that I walked out of a movie that didn't end. But whatever, it's fine. I'm sure that part 2 will just continue with where we left off. So I thought it was a phenomenal film, and I think that everyone everywhere should see it. Now, we have given pre-talk ratings. We will give post-talk ratings later on, but now it is time for a teaching moment. We're going to start with Spider-Man 2099.
Yeah, so Spider-Man 2099, that's up to me. So his real name is Miguel O'Hara. He's 5'10", 170. I like saying people's like height and weight because it kind of gives people an idea of like what these characters are like in the comics. So that's why I do it. His first appearance was in Spider-Man 2099, released in November of 1992. So with Miguel, he was the head of genetics at the Alchemax Corporation, which is the corporation that we see in the movie that Spot is trying to go to multiple times. He was basically, like I said, the head geneticist, and someone at the company kind of tricked him into drinking some highly addictive, like hallucinogen drink that would change his DNA. So he drinks it, and then he kind of starts basically feel bad and like doesn't feel good at all. So in order for him to kind of get over it, he had to do some experiments on himself in which he splices DNA with a spider, and that's how he became that world's Spider-Man. And so kind of like we see in the movie, he does have fangs that have like a paralyzing agent. In the movie, he kind of looked like a vampire, and he injects himself with something, which I think is the serum that's kind of keeping his spider powers there. That's what my theory is. He also has like, the superhuman, all the typical Spider-Man stuff, speed, strength, the webs,
I like
all that.
webs.
He also, his webs, which in the comics, I don't think they look like that.
I don't think so either.
But I could be wrong because I never read anything with him in it. He also has kind of like those talons that we see on his hands. He also has like those large, I don't know, whatever those things coming out of his elbows are called. So yeah, that's what he has in his costume. He's also very tech savvy, and so his suit also allows him to have like X-ray vision and has like heat what was it called? Heat vision, whatever it's called. It
Or
also
you
has
can
night
like see
vision.
heat signatures?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He also has, like I said, the night vision, and as well as like infrared vision and everything. And so, yeah, that is Spider-Man 2099. I think the first time I've seen this character, I want to say it was a Spider-Man TV show, but I remember there was a Spider-Man video game where you can play as him. But that was like the first time like I really got exposed to him.
Yeah, I saw him in the animated series, but I think most of these Spider-Man I saw in the animated series, but
Yeah. And like his name, he comes from the year 2099.
right.
If people didn't already know.
Okay. Okay. And we will do a teaching moment for Spot.
My boy Spot. Shout out to Spot. One of the best parts of the movie. Spot actually he's pretty comic accurate for the most part in the movie. So Spot real name is Dr. Jonathan Ohnn, and he works for the Kingpin. He is a doctor, really good with science and things of that nature, and so works for the Kingpin, and he's tasked with reproducing radiation levels of Cloak. If you guys know Cloak,
Oh
the
yeah.
Marvel character, he can kind of create portals with his cloak inside of his cloak, and yeah, so he's tasked to recreate the radiation levels of Cloak, and they're basically just trying to mimic his powers, artificially mimic his powers, so Kingpin can use them, as we saw in the first movie. In the comics, though, he succeeds, but in creating like one singular portal, but it continues to grows, and it causes a huge blackout in the city. And eventually, it starts to like destabilize, and so Doctor John is like, I don't want to lose this. Like, I've been working so hard to get this thing to actually work, and now it's destabilizing. Okay, I want to make sure it works and I don't lose my like life's work here. And so he steps into the portal, and then he eventually like passes out. His body doesn't react well to it. He passes out. He wakes up, and sort of like in what we saw in this movie, he wakes up and he's in a dimension where he sees all these different portals. And he eventually works his way through and finds his home portal, right back to New York. And when he comes back, he figures out that his body has morphed and drastically changed due to the experience he just went through. And he figures out that obviously these are portals. Some are small portals, as we saw in the movie. Some are interdimensional. And yeah, I think some of the main nemesis, some of the main enemies he has in the comic book universe is Spider-Man, Daredevil, Fantastic Four. In the comic books, he's kind of like what Kingpin uses them for. There's a lot of big bosses using him for their own purposes, for their own intentions. And then Spot, for the most part, he's a bad guy, but he's not like, I don't know, he's not like malicious. He's not out here murdering people. He's using it to rob banks or things of that nature. I think he eventually works with MODOK. He breaks Tombstone out of jail. He does a lot of different things in the comic books, but he's kind of mainly known for Spider-Man. Spider-Man, accurate to this movie, Spider-Man kind of, waves him off, kind of laughs at him because, he's saying, like, Spot is saying, like, I'm a big villain of yours. And he's kind of laughing, like, no, you're not even in the Sinister Six. Like, you're not out here like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's pretty comic accurate, but I wasn't aware of Spot that much before this movie. I like heard
Me
of
neither.
him, didn't do much research on him, but I thought this portrayal was really good. And the comics, I'm definitely way more aware of him now.
Yeah. Same for
And
me.
and that has been a teaching moment.
Yeah, I really like Spot. Obviously, he changed over time, which I thought was good for the story. It just sucked that we lost kind of that personality a little bit. He kind of changed. But the first part, when he's first introduced, hilarious.
Yeah.
Like
That
in the
whole fight was
bodega.
hilarious.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
So let's first talk about one of the things that both of you mentioned, the relationship with Miles and his parents.
Yeah.
So I, at one point, was like, maybe it's today, but his parents are being real generous with letting him get away with some of the things he was saying, some of the tone. Because I was like, oh, absolutely not.
Yeah, I would have got smacked.
Yeah, like
But I kind of took it though as he was still like they could be thinking like he's still grieving for his uncle because it seems like this movie doesn't take place too long after that.
he said in the movie, he said he had been Spider-Man for 16 months. And in the first movie,
okay.
he had been for 2 days. So we're talking a year and change after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is why he's so much better at, doing things now.
Right.
So, nah.
Okay. I didn't hear it, but that makes sense when he started bringing up other people, how long they've been Spider-Man. Because, yeah, he was talking about somebody. He's like, he's only been Spider-Man for 3 months.
Yeah. It was funny, though. I thought they did a really good portrayal of the mom. Like, when he was like, whatever, she was like, whatever. Like, what? Like, I would dare say whatever to my mom, but
I don't say what to my parents.
Exactly. I'm the same way. Like, I don't, like, she called me, my mom calls from across the house or something. I'm like, yes, ma'am. Yeah, I go by, say what's up, see what's up. But I'm not like, what? I'm like, no.
Nah.
And the fact that he was like super late to school, that school meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that wouldn't have flown over so well.
And then he was like, and I have to go now. And it was like, the what?
Yeah.
My dad would have back here.
Yeah, my dad would have snatched the soul out of my body. If I embarrass, first of all, one thing I would never do is be late for something that my parents are there. But most importantly, I would never embarrass my parents in front of company, in front of, a principal or whatever the hell she was, guidance counselor or whatever. Like, nah, my dad would have snatched the soul out of my body before he let me embarrass him.
Yeah. So like, there was one time I was in the process of like changing schools, but I didn't want to change schools. So we had like this interview with the principal, and I was in there talking crazy. And I wasn't talking real crazy, but like I was like the sarcasm was turned up to 11. Like I was letting this principal have it. Yeah. And as we're leaving, I just, because my parents drove separately, I start walking toward my mom's car, and my dad is like, "No, I'll take him." I was like, "God damn it!" This isn't gonna be good.
No, I got this.
Yeah. I was like, "Oh, that's not good. I'm worried now."
Yeah.
And, I mean, it went pretty okay. We just had a conversation of grown folks don't really appreciate being spoken to.
Yeah, especially by a child.
That way, yeah. And but I will say, like, there was fear in my heart.
Yeah.
How did y'all feel about the art direction with this movie?
I thought it was great. I mean, they went in a lot of different directions, and there were different animation styles happening at the same time, which I always think is impressive.
I agree.
There were some things that were like, that was probably, there were some situations that were better than others, but I think that just comes with having multiple different art styles happening at once. Because like whenever I think of that, I think of like Gumball. Gumball has so many different mediums happening at the same time, and so that's what it made me think of. And like, I'm impressed when I watch Gumball and see that. And so yeah, I'm like, that looks expensive.
Right.
Yeah, because it's like a cartoon in the real world.
Yeah.
One thing that was kind of weird to me, like whenever I watched the first one and this one, you know how like the new 3D movies, if you're watching it without 3D glasses, there's like a little blur.
Oh, the background.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it looked like this was supposed to be a 3D movie.
They did it out of focus.
Right.
Yeah. And I don't know if that's the case, but that's what it looked like to me. Like there were times when I could see like a little couple of blurs like shadowing behind stuff, and it looked like, oh, I'm just not wearing my 3D glasses, but it wasn't happening all the time.
Right. Yeah, it's probably, I wonder if that's maybe why they didn't classify it as 3D. But yeah, I mean, I'm not an animation expert or anything. There was a few things that it just was a lot. Like it was just a lot. Even the like beginning credits, like Sony Animation and Marvel. It was just a lot going on. It was just like, Jesus, like you trying to get somebody a epilepsy like attack or something here. Like I was just like,
there were definitely some moments I was like, I hope nobody epileptic is in here.
yeah, I'm just like, whoa.
Like they should have done a warning at the beginning.
Yeah, I was just like, this is a lot. I felt assaulted by all this. My eyes had to
by the stimulation.
Yeah, I'm just like, Jesus. And we haven't even started the movie yet. And I was just like, okay, all right, this is gonna be a ride. And I thought it was a beautiful movie. It was just, I felt like this movie just did a lot. Whereas the last movie, it did a lot, but like in a very purposeful way. Like it was very like, and it was, to me, it was more story driven. So they didn't have to do as much. Like obviously there's not 90 million Spider-Man in that first one. So they have to switch up the style. They can kind of be more consistent, but yeah, it was just a lot of overstimulation, I feel like.
See, and that's funny because I feel like the story in this movie and the turns that were made were actually really good.
I agree.
There was a lot happening, but the fact that we were in a situation where the story was basically there's stuff that's supposed to happen, and anything that goes against that pretty much causes incursions. And for that to kind of culminate in, you're a mistake, you shouldn't have been bitten in the first place, and if this hadn't happened to you, that world would have a Peter Parker. The Earth that was supposed to have a Peter Parker would have a spy. Like all of the connections that were made from the first movie, like I thought it was very well done, and it truly felt like a sequel because, we see a lot of movies that don't reference the previous movie, or that, the previous movie was just like a place setter and then they just go off and do whatever. But it truly felt like a sequel. It created a connection with the previous material. It did it in a way that I think was brilliant, and it gave purpose to the previous movie and all of the things that happened and all of the things that you weren't thinking about having meaning, they gave meaning to.
Because in the first one, Peter B. Porker tells him that every Spider-Man has some pivotal moment in their life. He said something along those lines. And in the second movie, you can see that as basically you see the webs of everyone saying okay, this is the moment that happened to me. Everyone has Uncle Ben, or everyone has, the Aunt May or something along the lines. Everyone loses someone at some point. And that's when you see, Miles no, that's not what's going to happen to me. Or it happened to him, but it's not it's not going to happen to me like this.
Yeah, because Miles already lost his uncle.
Right.
The fact that they were everybody loses a police captain that's close to them. I was like, yeah, but it's not their own dad.
Yeah.
And so Miles was like, no, absolutely not. We're not doing that. And then Miles was talking about it y'all just gonna let this happen?
Oh, yeah, you slowly see them coming up in the background.
Yeah, and they were all like, this is just how it's got to be. And Miles was like, no, we're not doing that. P.S. We'll talk about him in a minute. So, who was your favorite character? If you haven't already mentioned it, but who is your favorite character?
Jordan, you want to
go? That's really tough for me. I literally liked everybody in this movie. I'll probably just have to go with Miles, just because I like seeing him. I like the grow up. I like the maturity that he has in the whole movie. And plus, he was killing it in this movie. He did a great job. Just seeing his growth as a person. And I don't know. Yeah, Miles is probably my favorite one. I know there's some basic bitch stuff, but
yeah.
No, that's I get it under the circumstances, especially.
Oh, actually, a lot. Not in lie, but if I had to pick someone other than him, Spider-Punk. I think Spider-Punk was great in this movie. Although, like I mentioned earlier, I wasn't always in love with the art style that they chose for him, but I liked that he was like, nah, I'm against the system. F them. Do what you want. Yeah, I liked him. Use all 5 fingers. Put your whole palm on it. Yeah, he was out there helping them out.
Yeah. My favorite probably was like, I don't want to count the parents as a duo, but like the mom, like 10 out of 10. Like she killed it. Literally every conversation she had with Miles was like, oh damn, like she imparted wisdom on him. She let him go out, even with Gwen, even though he was grounded. Which I didn't understand that, but I get it. You change, you call an audible every now and again as a parent. And yeah, like she saw how he felt about her and he was going through it. So she kind of let him do his thing for the night. And but I just thought like every conversation she had was great. And like also I was hot. I was pissed at Miles. When he missed his dad's thing. I was like, what?
Dad's speech.
Yeah, I'm like, bro, like why do you have to, you worried about some shoes or some like petty crimes and you're missing a huge,
you gotta let that go.
Yeah, you got to miss an important, huge moment for your father for something that, I mean, the grand scheme of things, who cares? Like, it's not going to change the world. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't like that part. But otherwise, yeah, mine would probably be either the mom or I did like Gwen. I liked her story. And then Spot, the first half Spot. What about you, Spenser?
Okay. Well, and I'm gonna get back to that in a second, but I think that Spider-Man India, like just on the surface, he and Spider-Punk were great. Like I just really liked him, and then the fact that Spider-Punk was an anti-capitalist and almost
labels,
like almost an anarchist, and he was immediately on Team Miles, and he was just like causing issues behind the scenes it was great. It felt very pro-black. Like he saw Miles and he was like, all right, I'm with you, let's do this.
I didn't expect him to be black either.
I didn't either.
I think he's black.
I didn't know he was gonna be black. I was like, okay, Gwen.
Yeah. No,
I was black in the comics.
Gwen, I didn't even read Spider-Verse, but yeah, Gwen out here dipping in chocolate.
Yeah, Gwen wants a wheelchair, is what it's looking like.
Damn. Once you go black, you don't go. What was that? He's like, once you go black, you'll need a wheelchair.
Yeah, Gwen wants a wheelchair. And I support.
You got this far.
Yeah, you better go, Gwen. Anyway, one of the things that was kind of an issue for me was the mom just deciding you're not grounded anymore.
She saw what Miles.
You want a man's approval, man. Spenser, huh?
Yeah, man.
No, I want parental unity.
Oh, okay.
I don't necessarily need it to be like the man said it, so it goes. I need it to be we are a united front as parents.
Right.
And we need to make those decisions together.
She saw Miles struggling though with wanting to tell her something, but he just couldn't. So I feel like in that moment, she was like, whatever he has is more important right now than anything that, we're trying to accomplish right now. So I feel like she was like, go do this, but when you come back, you're still in trouble.
And I know that the movie had to happen and all that. And I'm glad that they addressed it. I'm glad that Dad came back home. It was like, you just unilaterally decided to let him go. What are we doing?
Right.
Because what are you doing? And that bothered me as a parent, not as like a movie goer.
Right. No, I'm saying, I literally, when they was on the thing, when they was talking, when the mom and Miles was talking together, I was like, we got to address this grounding thing. Like, we can't let that slide. Like, we got to, and she brought it up, but then she just told him, like, yeah, again, like George said, you got to come back and then we'll start it there. But yeah, I'm the same way. As a parent, I was like, whoa, hold on.
Yeah, like, that's not how punishment works.
Exactly. I was like, you got to run me my time, man.
Yeah, like, matter of fact, him being grounded, like, you're not coming back up to this party.
Exactly. Go to your room.
Yeah, like up here flirting with this white girl and no. And the mom was like, I bet she doesn't even speak Spanish.
Another pretty big character we didn't talk about either, even though she didn't have like a major part, but she was still pretty big in it, is Jessica Drew, Spider-Woman.
Yes, pregnant, working.
Yeah. That's exactly how she looked in the 2014, 2015 comic. Like she was pregnant on the cover. And I remember seeing that like, oh wow, that's pretty cool. But yeah, she's out there riding that motorcycle like it was nothing.
Yeah, she was working. She was great. This is so random, but there was one spider person who was thick. Whenever India Spider-Man's world was like being sucked into a black hole, there was some spider people that like came to assess the situation.
You must be talking about a Spider-Man football player, because I think I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah, there was one of them spider people was.
Oh, I know you're talking about. Yeah,
because I saw her and I leaned to Larry and I was like, that Spider Woman out there.
Yeah.
And I thought it was hilarious. I'm glad that I always appreciate different body types, because it seems like a lot of times everybody look like Gwen.
Right. Thanks. Spencer, who's your favorite though?
Oh, the Spider-Man India or Spider-Punk.
I like what Spider-Man India and him using that I don't want to get the term wrong, but to us it looked like a yo-yo, but I'm sure it's not a yo-yo.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about though. That was dope.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like his whole style of like he was working.
Yeah, he's putting in work.
Like I was like, yeah, I want to see him do stuff. Yeah, and he was like, I'm kind of just like talented.
Yeah, it was perfect.
And I was like this. I was like, I love that there's a Spider-Man without trauma.
Yeah, like facts. Like you didn't go through some wild Batman level trauma.
Yeah, he was like, I wake up, my hair's perfect. I have a girlfriend. I
work out, but I don't want to get too big. You know.
Yeah, that was good. That was pretty. This movie was pretty funny too. Like this movie, when they went to the different universe, you see the Lego universe.
Oh,
what is going on?
He was like, people.
They never brought that back. But yeah, and one thing that I also love, I love that J.K. Simmons is J. Jonah Jameson everywhere,
in every universe,
every single one of them. It's him, and I love it. I also love that they brought in most of the spider things that exist.
Oh, that was amazing.
We saw Toby. We saw Andrew Garfield. We got a callback to Homecoming with Donald Glover in the Prowler suit.
Yeah. Right.
Oh, that was
I hated that. You hated that?
Why? That was like it
was a callback.
It was a Prowler. He's a Prowler. What do you mean?
It was a callback, and it was meta because the whole world wanted him to be Miles. And so they like that.
That's why he was looking at him like that.
I don't know, bro. It seemed like a clout. Like it was like, I don't know. It was like we don't need that. Like it was cool, but like, what we really need that. Like,
that was good.
No. It was
the old lady in the store from Venom.
It was absolutely fan service, but
yeah, for sure.
Like it was the right kind of fan service, because fan service would have just been casting Donald Glover against better options. But the fact that they included him and called back to how they included him, I thought it was really good. And it explains why we haven't seen him again in the MCU.
Yeah. I don't know.
You sound like a hater.
Yeah, Brandon's definitely
thirsty.
a hater.
This is like, all right, what are we doing? None of this shit happened. Like we didn't make these clout chasing type of moves in the first one.
Okay.
That's crazy.
I love a reference. I love a callback. I love those types of things. So I thought it was a great use of him, and I'm glad that they brought him back as the character that we saw him as in live action, to tie Tom Holland's Spider-Man into this, because we didn't actually see Tom Holland's Spider-Man in the little thing.
Oh, but they mentioned Doctor Strange. Like, I was not expecting that either.
They mentioned that, but they mentioned it. It sounded like on a different Earth.
Well, because the MCU Earth in the movies, they call it the 616. Everyone knows it's not it. So the MCU was Earth 1999, something like that. Yeah. And so I'm glad that was pretty cool.
I'm glad they did that. So
that part, that's how I liked, because it was just in a conversation. It was like, some stupid kid with some doctor.
Don't Dr. get me started.
It doesn't sound like a good doctor.
Yeah, he's like, you shouldn't be practicing medicine, Dr. Strange. I was like, that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
And they even made a joke on themselves because they were like, "Are we too heavily reliant on comedy?
Yeah.
Is that a thing that we're doing?"
Yeah.
I was like, "See, this is good.
Yeah.
I appreciate the self-awareness. Sony can put together something good."
Yeah.
And
I mean,
Animation.
this is what they should be doing. They should just scrap every other movie that they have planned and just focus on this Spider-Verse, series that they've created. I don't need a Craven the Hunter. I don't need a Madam Web. Go ahead and fast track this across the Spider-Verse too. Like, give me that.
now, speaking of that, I'm under the impression that this will come out next year because the fact that it was written up as a part 1, I'm sure that part 2's already almost done. Like
Right.
the same way that they did with Infinity War Endgame. Like they knew that that's how that was going to go, and so they shot it all like together. So like they shot all 6 hours and then, did what they needed to do in post and then just put it on hold for a year. So I'm under the impression that if it's not done already, that the sequel to this is almost done. Like I'm sure that all the lines have already been read, if I had to guess, because I would be surprised if they put, a 2-year hold on this even.
I don't know how much money is made, but I'm sure that this is killing the box office.
Yeah.
And especially after this first weekend, the word of mouth get out even more. Like I bet you next weekend is going to be even better.
Yes.
I do wonder. I don't know. The break off point was weird to me. Like the break off where we're breaking it off at where Gwen is getting together her little society, and then it's starting to go the process of trying to save Miles. Like that's where we break off. So the next movie starts. I'm assuming in that point we're gonna have 2 hours worth of. I'm sure they're gonna add some stuff. It just doesn't seem like, I don't know. It's a weird breaking point.
I think it's a good point because Gwen has her team. She has her mission is to go save Miles. Miles has his mission of trying to escape this other Miles and probably try to convince them somehow that whatever they're doing, you guys need a Spider-Man in your world. Spider-Man 2099 is also trying to stop Miles, and then Miles is also trying to get back home to save his dad. So, there's still a lot more stuff that they still have to wrap up.
Again, I don't like that it didn't end. So
I didn't mind it. I didn't mind that.
I'm in that same. Well, again, I knew that was the case, and I wanted the movie to end, and it didn't. And I'm sure there are worse things, but I agree. Like if I have one issue, it's just like we just left. It feels like we were watching a movie and then the power went out.
Yeah, it felt like
you can't finish it.
Yeah, it felt like a season finale leading into another season rather than like a movie ending. It was just, I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't mind that. I did like all the jokes they had. Everybody talked about Miles' suit. It's like, "Whoa, you bleeding underneath your armpits." Like, I like that little running joke, and they didn't overdo it too many times. And so I was
going to say, so this comedy wasn't a problem for you.
Yeah, because they didn't overdo it. They only did it I think 2 times. Like Peter B. Parker said it.
This movie was riddled with comedy.
Yeah, I loved it. They did great with this comedy.
It wasn't Thor. That's why.
No.
Thor is not allowed to be funny.
Yeah. You don't like Taika. That's basically what it is.
He does have a couple movies I want to check out. I just haven't got a chance to yet, though.
Okay. Well, who's y'all's favorite Spider-Man outside of Miles?
I already talked about it.
Oh, is this Spider-Man? Okay. I didn't like Indian. I like Indian. I like the Indian Spider-Man.
Well, let me ask y'all, what all the different Spider-Mans, who all did y'all notice? Like, so I noticed the T-Rex Spider-Man, obviously. That was a pretty funny one. The horse.
The video game one.
Oh, the video game one?
Yeah. I noticed Spider-Man from Spectacular Spider-Man.
Oh, that was hilarious. Him just like going at him, and then like Miles goes right past him. That was hilarious.
Yeah, the like 1990s like. Well, I'm trying to remember the dude's name. Was it Spectacular?
Or are you talking about?
Or was it Unlimited?
Oh, did I see the Unlimited one? I know I've seen Scarlet Spider, and I know I've seen
the one that like narrates and stuff, looking at the wall. Now I'm looking at.
Oh
the
yeah,
like,
that was
that guy.
yeah, that was when that was Scarlet Spider.
Is it
it's one of the clones.
He had a different
man.
name.
That was the Ben Riley Spider Man.
Yeah. That was he was funny. Because that's definitely how it was in the animated series.
Yeah, he was definitely like, okay, Dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was funny.
Let me see, who else did I notice? I noticed the the armor Spider-Man that he had on like the gray armor. It looked like almost football armor. I noticed that one. Only reason I know that one is from like there was a Spider-Man video game on mobile, and you can get that suit. That's the only reason I realized that one.
I wondered if we were going to see the Aunt May version of Spider-Man, and I don't think we did.
There were so many. Yeah, you never even know.
Yeah, because
it gets me interested now in reading the comic. Now I need to go and read the comic.
There were far too many in there.
Yeah.
Oh, that moment where we're like, draw on 3, 1, ow.
Oh yeah. Or even they was like Spider-Man. He's like when they all did the whole pointing thing. What did he say? He was like, Spider-Man's on the loose or something like, or get a Spider-Man or something. And like everybody pointing at each other like
the meme. Yeah.
Yeah. And they did that at the end credits of the last one.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, like this one, yeah. It was again, I thought it was great.
How'd you feel about how'd you feel about 2099?
I mean, he was a villain.
Yeah, he pretty much took the villain role.
Yeah, because we forgot Spot's whole agenda.
He pretty much took a break out in the movie after like Miguel turned a little bit.
And I mean, that's to be expected because whenever they showed up, I was like, oh, he's going to be the villain. Like I clocked it pretty immediately whenever we saw him. I was like, oh yeah, he's going to be a problem. Like we're gonna have to go against him.
When he's like slowly going down, he's like, don't worry, this is his thing. He's like, he's going real slow down. I was like, yeah, and I was wondering, was they going to call that out too? Because I was like, damn, he's going slow, and then yeah, they called it out.
Yeah. I thought he was going to jump down. I didn't think he was going to let the thing descend all the way. But
I love the elevator. That was a cool concept. Like if you keep in an elevator, yeah, unless you're like obviously Spider-Man, Spider-Man.
And I wondered how many of the Spider people from the first movie would like have lines. I figured we would see them in some capacity, but I wondered how many of them would have like speaking parts.
Oh yeah, we didn't see them until the end. Like Peter B. Parker, Spider-Man Noir,
Spider-Ham and Spider-Man Noir are the two we didn't see. But we saw Penny.
Yeah.
And of course we saw the other 3.
Yeah, of course. Peter B got a baby now.
Yeah,
that was pretty good.
Yeah,
and you know the timing doesn't quite work out, but that's fine.
So, and yeah, I mean, immediately after he met up with her, he must have got her pregnant one night.
Because that was a toddler, like that baby was between 1 and 2. I have a hard time believing that baby was 3-year-old. And if Miles said it's been 16 months, we cut out 9 of those months for pregnancy, which is really like 10.
Right.
You know, but I guess we're not supposed to think about it that much.
No, I mean she was in the crib though. She wasn't talking. She knew how to use spider powers somehow. I mean her web slinger somehow, but
yeah, and I guess we didn't see her like walking.
Yeah, she never walked.
So maybe, but like that was a toddler.
Yeah.
That was definitely the behavior of a toddler.
Yeah, like that wasn't a baby. That wasn't a fresh baby anyway.
Baby.
But you know, whatever, it's fine. I'm glad that he was able to just patch things up immediately, like, hey, I'm ready to have kids. And she was like, all right.
It was an accident, man. Accidents happen.
No. And that's another thing is how do we feel about Miles inspiring Peter to have a kid based on his relationship with him.
I didn't mind that.
Yeah, I didn't mind it either. I mean, it would be nice if they still had a relationship, but
I mean, I
I did feel bad.
thought it was a beautiful moment.
Yeah.
Right.
No,
Like-
I felt bad that he was like, nobody, you guys didn't come visit me.
yeah,
I mean, obviously they had a reason, but I was like, that's messed up.
right.
Yeah, and the whole like talked about it. He was like, talked about it.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
Oh, his feelings were so hurt,
Yeah.
and they should have been. Because
Yeah.
Gwen was like, I didn't know how to tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, Gwen, don't do that.
Yeah, that was tough. That's tough.
Yeah, and so I kind of wonder what's going to happen when Gwen does show up based on that. Because the last time they spoke, Miles was not happy because he was like, no, all of you knew, and you were about to just like what are we doing here?
Right.
I thought you
Yeah.
were my friend.
Exactly.
So I kind of wonder if whenever she does show up, if she does save him, if it's going to be a, hey, I'm so happy to see you, or what are you doing here?
Yeah.
Because he felt betrayed by everyone because
Right.
whenever he was talking to Peter B. Parker, they used him to find him. So yeah, Miles don't trust nobody.
Did y'all have an issue with the other version of Miles having cornrows?
No.
I was a little
Nah, I
like
didn't either.
evil version cornrows. Like that's the style we went with. Okay.
I had more of a problem with Miles's little fro fitting in his head suit, in his head, in his mask. I had more problem with that because I'm like, wait a minute, how does this logically work out?
I figured it was a swim cap type situation.
Yeah, like if it's a strong enough cap, then yeah, it's that hair is going down.
Yeah, but when you take it off, it was like perfect. Every time.
That's
true.
true.
When those moments is like I started thinking about it, I was like, let me go and get it out of my head.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Because his hair would have been disheveled after coming out of that mask. But and I've lived that. So there's no way that hair just pops out flawlessly.
Right. Maybe it's more of like a maybe right.
But yeah, okay.
But the cornrows is just interesting.
Random question. What do y'all call Gwen?
I call her Spider Gwen.
I just call her Gwen, or is her name Gwanda?
That was a joke from the first one. Like she whenever Miles was like, hi, I'm Miles, she was about to say her name was Gwen, but tried to come up with something else, and Gwanda is what happened.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. Because he said it like so casually. I was like, what? But okay. I usually call it Gwen, but yeah, Spider Gwen sometimes.
I mean, I know the name that Marvel, or not even Marvel, Disney was trying to push on us.
What?
Is that the
Ghost Spider? Yeah. And the reason I asked that question is because she was calling herself Spider Woman in this movie.
You're right.
I call her Spider Gwen because that's the only thing, like that's how I was introduced to her. That's what I knew her as. And then I remember saying, like, that name is stupid. It's got your actual name in it. Yeah. And then I never heard, like, after having that thought, I never saw Spider Gwen again. And I was like, oh, I guess they heard me. Okay. And so, but I watch Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends with my kid. Yeah. And they call her Ghost Spider. And every time I hear it, I'm like, that's so fucking stupid. There's someone on your team who can turn invisible. Why are you Ghost Spider?
I never understood that. I watched with Cam before. I was like, Cam, that's not her name. She was like, she'd see a toy, Ghost Spider. I'm like, that's Spider Gwen.
It's Spider Gwen.
Or that's Spider Woman, whatever.
I guess it's just Gwen. But yeah, she's had several names. And so I was wondering, what do you call her?
Well, I guess the reason she changed her name is because in every universe, Gwen Stacy basically died. And so she's trying to separate herself from being a Gwen. And so that's when she renamed herself to Spider Woman.
Maybe.
But yeah, I only know her as Spider Gwen.
I also refer to her as Spider Gwen,
Yeah.
just to kind of differentiate her. Because whenever I think Spider Woman, I think Jessica.
Yeah, same.
I'm not as familiar with Jessica. So is Jessica Drew different from the Spider Woman we have in our MC Marvel universe? I guess
Do we
Who
have
we
a
have in
Jessica
Marvel?
Drew?
Yeah, I don't know what we're talking about.
we don't have
That's
Jessica Drew. We have a
Jones.
Spider Woman. We have a Spider Woman though.
Who?
I'm pretty sure there's a Marvel version of Spider Woman in the regular universe that isn't Jessica Drew.
You talking comic books?
Yeah, like in general. I feel
Jessica Drew, the Spider Woman. So her power is she has the pheromones, and then she also has like the venom that she can use.
And she can,
but she's also
right.
Yeah, but
glide,
she didn't. Yeah, but I don't think she got bit by a spider.
Yeah, I think at least in her origin story, I don't think she did.
Interesting. I thought Jessica Drew was like a new character. Like
I think that's always been Spider Woman.
Yeah, she's always had on like the red and then like the upside down like green triangle, and then her mask kind of looks like a spider.
I remember that, but she wasn't black.
No.
They changed it for. So you don't remember when a few years ago when they said Issa Rae was going to play Spider Woman? Like people were pissed because well, Issa's black, but they didn't say anything about Into the Spider-Verse 2. They just said she's playing Spider Woman.
Okay, that's what I'm thinking. Because I was like, okay.
Yeah,
that's what I was thinking. Because I was like, I've never seen a black Spider Woman or Jessica Drew. I didn't really know Jessica Drew was in general, but
yeah. And there's an old Spider Woman cartoon that I don't think lasted very long.
Yeah, that's kind of my first introduction. I didn't watch, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, like that's the vision of her in my head.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah. Okay. So one of the things that I thought was funny was during the parent-teacher conference, whenever the counselor was trying to like create a narrative for Miles to get into Princeton,
that was hilarious.
Creating a story, I was like, this is so realistic, and I hate it, but I love it. Like, I hate that this happened, but it's so funny because Dad was like, what the fuck you mean struggling? Like,
he's like, hold on. Like, we own a.
Are we bad?
New York. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, like we own a floor in New York. Like, what?
Yeah, we're like struggling. Hold on now.
Like, I'm gonna be captain next week. Like,
exactly. Like,
you got me confused. Oh, it was so funny.
That was funny.
But yeah,
that whole meeting was hilarious.
Yeah, she was trying to spin this narrative, and I was like, that is so accurate, and I hate it.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that happens in athletics a lot as well.
Yeah. Sob story when it's like, all right, this kid had a very good support system, but all right.
Yeah.
Sounds like a little John Moranish right now.
Yeah, okay.
And then another thing I thought was funny was in the first movie it happened too, but whenever the incursion type stuff was happening, and somebody was like, I think it's a Banksy.
Yeah. I heard that.
Yeah, that happened in both movies, and I thought it was hilarious.
I don't remember it happening in the first one.
It did. And I only know that because I just watched it. But yeah, it happened the first time they showed like a street sign get turned into like a bunch of shit.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely heard it in the second one because I know the crowd laughed at that part too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was a throwaway line, but it was funny.
Yeah. Bro, I feel like Spot, man, that bodega scene, that was hilarious.
That beginning part was hilarious. They have the whole fight.
Yeah, that was so funny because it's like, realistically, if you have a portal, you're just gonna put it on it, reach into it, and grab the money and leave. It just was a hell of a struggle.
And the dude was like, it's not even your ATM. And then I was like, why do we call it an ATM machine?
Yeah,
like, that's the same thing. That was pretty good. And then we see that line come back with Spider-Man India.
Yep.
Chai tea.
I call it ATM machine also, but that's just because that's what it's been.
Yeah, that's normal.
Yes.
Right.
But yeah, the chai tea thing, I actually didn't know that.
I didn't either. It was hilarious.
And did they? I don't know if they mentioned this in here or if I just know it from somewhere else. But non-bread, because non means bread, and so to call something non-bread is bread.
No, I don't know. I don't know if they
that.
said it in there because I don't remember that.
Okay, because I've that occurred to me, but again, I don't know if that was in here or not.
What
It's
was
the
his
same
example in the movie for chai tea?
As,
Um,
he
That's
said,
like saying,
"I would like a coffee with cream."
"Oh, that's
yeah.
funny." Yeah, that
Because
was
another
good.
time that it happens is in The Boys, Black Noir. His name is Black.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
yeah,
Noir.
Noir also means black.
Yeah.
yeah. That's funny.
But yeah, I thought that was really funny and really accurate. So, a question for you two. Other than Deadpool, is this the funniest comic book movie you've seen or that you can think of? Or what is the funniest comic book movie that comes to mind for you? Because, and I asked specifically not Deadpool because Deadpool is a comedy. Like
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Deadpool goes out of its way to
yeah,
be,
yeah.
yeah, like Ryan Reynolds does some of his best work. But is this the well? What comes to mind when you think funny comic book movies? And is this in the running for movies that are comic book movies that are not comedies? Like there's an actual story happening, and comedy is not the main purpose, but comedy does a lot of work in this movie in making it good.
Hmm.
I would say yeah, only because like Spider-Man, he's meant to be like a funny character. And so I would probably say like this is the best one. And in my opinion, until the last one came out, like this is the best Spider-Man movie. And even Tom Holland himself said recently that this is the
Cat.
best Spider-Man.
And I was coming to that question.
Look
Yeah.
at that. See, I read your mind. My bad.
Um. Yeah. I would say Suicide Squad, or I'm sorry. Peacemaker is a series, so obviously, if it was, if it was everything, I'd say Peacemaker's funnier.
Okay.
But I would say I'd probably give it to it because I feel like everything else, I ain't gonna say we just started getting into like the comedy side of the superhero verse, but it kind of is more recent than
Oh,
started with kind of Guardians.
yeah, Guardians like kicked it off.
Yeah,
And that's why I'm asking, because it seems like since Guardians, the goal has been to make every comic book movie a comedy,
yeah,
other than the ones that are very explicitly dark.
right.
So we have all of the Guardians movies, we have all of the Ant-Man movies, we have Thor moving forward, we have uh other Spider-Man outings. We've got Suicide Squad, which
Right.
was actually pretty funny.
Yeah, so I was gonna say Suicide Squad is up there. It's underrated. It's up there.
We have Shazams, which are kind of meant to be lighthearted.
Right.
So there are a lot now, and I mean we even have ones that are specifically that, like we have Kick-Ass,
Mm-hmm.
Scott Pilgrim. So we have ones that are very specifically trying to be like comedy or spoof like,
Yeah.
but I that I can think of, again, other than Deadpool, this is one of the funniest movies that is not very specifically trying to be a comedy, at least as far as I can tell. Like it had an actual compelling story happening, and it had, emotional moments that hit you right in the chest.
Yeah.
But it had a lot of comedy in it, more than I thought it was going to. And I thought it was refreshing and I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Definitely see that.
So since Jordan brought it up, we'll go ahead and ask, is this among the best Spider-Man movies to date?
I'm telling you right now,
Among.
it's top two, and it's not number two.
Okay.
Wait. You think this is better than the first one?
What? Oh yeah, by far. Not far.
Wow.
No, sorry, I wouldn't say by far, but it's better than the first one.
I'm taking the first one.
They literally took the first one and just added on top of it more backstory, more characters, more emotion, more comedy. Like they literally took everything from the first one, the heart of it, and just increased it. The art style, we've seen so many different art. When the first one came out, it was a different art style that we weren't really seeing in animation like that. They took that same thing, did this, and they upped it up. And this one went to multiple different universes. If we want to go back to Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, this was a lot more multiverse. Man, said that word so many times just now.
This was more Multiverse of Madness than Doctor Strange was.
All right.
So yeah. I'm going one. It's one for me. I think maybe that's why I like one more. It's like more.
It's more contained.
It's more contained. I don't need more characters, especially if it's just another Spider-Man. But yeah, I just thought it was more contained, more centered around dad, Miles, uncle, mom. It's kind of centered around them.
And that's because it was Miles' origin story. Like we had to get to, because Miles, we watch Miles actually get bit by the spider and become Spider-Man and struggle with learning what his powers are and how to use them. And like we watch all of that happen. And so it had no choice but to be focused around Miles, because when this movie started, I was like, is this a Gwen movie? Is that
that's what my daughter said. Like, she was like,
same.
She's like, where's Miles at? And she's like, I thought this was a Miles movie.
I just feel like it was, and they did a good job of coming. It's not like Miles didn't get any love. Like, obviously he did. We just felt like, again, way too many Spider-Man. Way too many Spider-Man. Like, and I get it. Like, that's the point of the movie. But it's like we're focusing.
Spider-Verse.
Right, but we're also focusing on way too many Spider-Man. It's cool to just see them. Like, now we're focusing and giving time to them. I came here to see Miles. I don't give a damn about a pig. I don't give a damn about a horse or, That
was hilarious, though. He's like, why does a horse have a mask?
Yeah.
Hide his face. Like, no, okay.
You didn't answer my question, but all right. Yeah.
So the first one you would say is better. Is Homecoming better than this movie to you?
Personally,
oh my god,
I'm in the rare. I think so. Now, I will say, I feel like I need to see this movie a second time, just to give it a super, super fair rating. But off initial, I came out of, I don't know, and maybe because I give live action more credit than I give animation. Not in the fact that I look less on animation, but it's 10 times harder to pull off something in live action. Where in animation, you have no limits. You literally have whatever you want to come up with, you can come up with and execute if you have the budget to do so. Where in live action, that's not the case. You have to cast the correct people. You have to budget all this stuff. You have to pull off everything that needs to be done. So I give live action more credit for that. Whereas in animation, obviously, game-changing animation, we know that. But also a lot easier to pull off as far as like, if I have an idea, okay, cool, let's just do it. Or you can't do that in live action.
With CGI, live action is almost just animation. Like, a lot of live action movies are 3/4 animation due to CGI. And you know where I am as far as the agenda goes. We spent the beginning of this episode talking about how I have a podcast dedicated to animation because people keep shitting on it. And people keep acting like it's a lesser medium. And so...
People, aka Brandon.
It's not a lesser medium, but one's way harder to do.
I mean,
than the other.
You are saying to me that because this is an animated movie, that is being held against it in regards to it being the best Spider-Man movie.
I'm not holding it against it. I feel like people are holding it higher than it needs to be because it's animation. We're in an animation agenda, so we're pushing whatever is really good in animation to the front of the line because we're in an animation agenda period.
I
like right
disagree.
now,
I think
Yeah,
that
I
we
know what's
are
going on.
no.
We're in a
Right
live
now,
we're in a live action agenda because there are so many
no.
people. There's so many people that if you say what's better, Marvel or DC, their answer is Marvel because of the MCU without taking anything else into consideration. So, generally speaking, most people are looking at live action as the top standard, and nothing is above that or beyond that. And everything else is either lesser or irrelevant. And so
maybe
I have a hard time believing that we are in an animation agenda, especially because when you look at what when you look at what Disney's doing, they're taking all of their animated movies and making live action versions of them. We are seeing 2D animation essentially be done away with for 3D animation and people who look more like live action versions of people. And so I firmly disagree that there's an animation agenda. I think that there's an agenda to get rid of or downplay the quality and what animation can bring to the table. And I think that they are trying to kill 2D animation entirely when I look at what's been going on in media.
Well, I mean, yeah, you don't get a lot of 2D animation like that anymore unless it's like anime.
Yeah, I mean, I think the reason I disagree is I think, first of all, animation there's never been a more popular time in animation.
And I think
now,
that's because technology allows for stuff to be done faster and easier.
True,
because
but I'm saying, like,
when you look at like Toy Story, I'm sure it took them 80 years to make it.
Right.
Whereas, now you can make a Toy Story type movie in a matter of months.
Like if you go click on Disney Channel, you may catch a live action show. Maybe. 95% of it is animation. Where when we were kids, you had 2 animation shows. That was it. Everything else was live action sitcom. I'm saying, like, everything with anime, we know that's a growing. Everybody's an anime fan, right? Everybody's an anime fan now. I'm speaking for more like not just the casual who maybe doesn't know anything about Marvel or anything about superheroes. They just kind of go to the big movies. I'm talking about like people who like actually are tapped in. They're way more. People lean way more animation. I know most people I know that are like fans of this stuff lean way more animation than they will. They actually give animation more credit. And if a live action movie tries it, they're like, yeah, it's kind of trash.
So what do you think about the prequels for Star Wars versus like Star Wars Rebels? Which one do you think people hold higher?
The anime people if you talk to a Star Wars fan, they will act like the live action just is like that doesn't exist. Only talk about Clone Wars.
But the prequels though, like the original 3 that started, that's the prequels, right?
Yes. Yeah, no, the prequels are the original.
Yeah, the original trilogy, the prequel trilogy, the sequel trilogy. So
okay, well, the original trilogy, the original. Do you think people hold that higher than Rebels?
No, only because it was done in the 70s, and I hold it higher.
It depends on who you ask.
Yeah, and it matters when you were born.
Because what I've noticed is people who were born like post 1985 lean toward Clone Wars being the greatest Star Wars item, whereas people born before that lean toward the original usually Revenge of the Sith, but the original trilogy being the best Star Wars items. And that's just having discussions with folks.
Yeah. And me, again, like proving my theory, I lean more towards the original trilogy because I know how hard that was to do to even get that accomplished. I understand, like I take that into account, I guess. And I think they're just great in general. But I think I agree that this movie is amazing. But I do think we're in sort of an era where if an animation movie comes out, I'm not saying all of them are pushed to the moon, but if a Encanto comes out, it's the movie of the year, rather than if a really good live action movie comes out, it's like, it was good, it was solid, but we're not gonna push it because I
I will say the fair thing is you can compare it to however much money this movie makes versus how much the last Spider-Man movie makes as far as like live action. I mean, that could really tell you right there whether people liked, the nostalgia, live action factor of it, or this second, animated movie.
Because
Yeah.
one of the issues is there's still an entire generation of people who refuse to watch anything animated because it's quote unquote for kids. And that stigma hasn't quite died.
I feel like I agree.
It's on its way out.
Way of dying. Yeah, I think
it's absolutely on its way
a
out.
Generation away.
Yeah, like we're not far, but
right.
There are still people who are of that belief. But I think we're both right. Which makes it difficult to litigate.
Do you guys want to see? Would you guys want to see a live action Miles, or would you rather continue having this animated Miles?
I don't need live action. I don't require that. And again, I'm on a very specific agenda. So I don't think that if we got a live action Miles, that would be fine. I even know who I would want to play him, but I don't need it. And
what about you? Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, you're good. I think that trying to push that is just a money grab, if anything, because it seems like that's all a live action remake is nowadays, is just trying to like grab at people's nostalgia and trying to get money off of people and trying to just milk the shit out of something that
that's what this did, having two parts though. This was just
true. This definitely was the grab. They knew what they were doing.
Well, yeah, but I mean, based on this movie, this needed to be like, I don't want to see a version of this that contains both of these parts into one movie.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to see that. Just like I didn't want to see Infinity War and Endgame as one movie. Like, no,
that's a tough comparison.
Split that up. Because there's a lot we need to cover. There's a lot that needs to happen. There's a lot to do. So split that up. And the fact that this is animated has nothing like that, and this are unrelated to me. So this being an animated movie is unrelated to the fact that it was split into two parts and all that. So again, I knew going in that this was a part one situation. And I don't want to see a version of this movie that cuts out a bunch of this movie and then tries to cut out a bunch of what we're going to see in the next one to try to make it one movie.
I mean, they could have extended it, but
extend. I want to see the 2-hour version of like I want to, and that's a discussion that we'll have once that one comes out, because it could be a situation where that movie is an hour longer than it needed to be, and they could have done that. So we don't know. Or it could be a situation where this should have been a series instead. Like we haven't seen that, so it's hard to speak to what it's going to be. But today, I needed everything that we got from this movie, and I don't think that an extra 30 minutes is going to be able to tell the entire story from the next one.
Yeah.
And I don't think that there's anything that needed to be cut out of this one to try to make that happen.
Yeah.
That's fair.
What
about you?
I actually would prefer a live action version, but I know that's you're asking for a failure just because they're going to immediately compare it to this.
Oh, yeah, it's going to. Yeah.
Yeah, so you're gonna lose. You could do it. You could execute it very well. You're just gonna take an L. So it's like, might as well stay away from it, at least for now. Like, give it some long time. Let Tom Holland run his race with it for a while, and then bring it in later. But I just think right now it's just way too close. People are gonna compare it, and it's gonna be again, they could do it great, and then people are gonna still not like it.
I think for me, before this movie came out, I was all for having, a live action Spider-Man. Like I think I even had this conversation maybe a few weeks ago with somebody. And I was like, yeah, like I want to see a live action Miles. And I know the MCU is going to kill it once they bring in live action Miles. But I think honestly, after seeing the second one, like I don't think I want a live action Miles. Cause yeah, I'm going to compare it. Like I'm going to. And if I
Right.
feel like they don't meet my expectations, then I'm gonna be real sad.
Right.
But I
I think
mean, I don't know. I say that now. I think I still do want a live action Miles,
I
but I
think
don't want to lose this either.
you need a live action Miles, but you need it later. You need him to be the star of the MCU in 20 whatever. You need him to because he's probably gonna be the face of like when Miles is that popular, he's gonna be the face like years down the line. So you don't want to do it right now.
Yeah, I want Tom Holland to be old enough to mentor him.
Facts.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. Like 10, who knows, years down the line. Like let that story be told. And do it your own way. Obviously, you got to copy off the animated, but yeah, hopefully
Who
not
was y'all
a.
Spider Man? Who was y'all? Are y'all Peter or Miles? Like even before this movie, was y'all Peter or Miles?
When I say Spider-Man, I'm referring to Peter. Like,
Yeah, I'm Peter guy.
like whenever for Miles, like I would specify that I'm talking about Miles.
Yeah, same for me. When I say Spider Man, I'm talking Peter. But if I'm talking Miles, I'm talking Miles.
Mm-hmm.
Which
He's
in
not on
comic book
that
they
level
both
yet.
just they call Spider Man, which is a little confusing when they're both around. But hey, it is what
That's
it is.
true.
Everybody gets
They
it.
do that.
And that's why in the Amazing Spider-Man, His Amazing Friends, they call him Spin, which
also pissed me off.
I take issue with.
Yeah, I told Cam that too. I was like, that's not his name.
Yeah, but whatever.
Yeah.
That's fine. But that's fine.
Okay. Do you guys want to get into a little Rotten Tomatoes?
Before we do that, has your rating of this movie changed after discussing it?
Mine has. I'm going
Okay.
11. I'm going 11
This
out of
guy.
10.
Yeah. Stop the cap, man.
Nah. I'll stay at 10 out of 10. This was an excellent movie, man. Like there was not anything I would really change except for the Gwen Stacy art. But even like I said, I didn't enjoy it. But during the scene where she was kind of expressing her feelings, you see the background, blurring out as her world is kind of falling apart. And then she finds out that her dad, quit as captain. And then you saw the background go to normal. And to me, it even looked a little like bit more glowier because she was happy. So that was great. That was great. 10 out of 10 still for me.
But you, Spencer.
Yeah, my number has not changed. It's still 9.5. To answer the question from earlier, I do believe this is the best Spider-Man movie that I've seen. Because there are 10 of them. 3 Tobys, 3 Toms, 2 Andrews, and 2 of these.
Yeah.
So yeah, like of the 10 of them, this is number 1. So yeah.
Yours turns, Brandon?
I think they did a great job.
Yeah. This is third for me.
Third. Did your 8 ranking change?
No, still an 8 for me. May change after a second rewatch. But yeah, still an 8 for me.
I'll be honest, I don't buy a lot of Blu-rays anymore. I think the last Blu-ray I bought was probably Godzilla versus Kong. I'm buying this Blu-ray as soon as I can. I'm buying it. There's no question about it. I need to see the special features. I need to see the commentary. Like I need to see it.
I too don't buy Blu-rays often, but like John Wick and this are like
Facts.
the extent
I gotta get John Wick 4 too. Yeah.
of Blu-rays that I've bought recently, or that I will. Yeah, I will own this film, and it's hard as hell to find on streaming.
Facts.
Yeah, facts.
So I need to be able to watch it whenever I want.
Yeah, I'll say
Right.
so. Before we watched this, I was texting Brandon and Spencer, and I was like, "Yo, I can't find this on anywhere streaming." And I just happened to go through my Blu-ray collection. I was like, "Oh, I got this." I was like, "Hey, look at that! That was clutch
Yeah.
because I was gonna have to rent it, and if I had to
Right.
rent it, I probably wasn't gonna watch it."
I was prepared to pay $4 to rent it.
Yeah.
I was prepared to pay $10 to own it digitally.
Oh
Yeah.
shit!
Because
Yeah,
I mean, the first one, it was good, and
Right.
so yeah, I was I was like, no, this is worth the money.
Mhm.
But Jordan came through clutch because I just went, borrowed his Blu-ray, watched it, and my wife was like, I am not interested in watching that movie. She sat down and watched the whole thing.
that's funny. That's when
That's
my wife was like, "Do we even have a Blu-ray player?" I was like, "Yeah, honey, we got Xbox. Don't worry, we good."
Yep, that's exactly why I needed the X and not the S, because
Yeah.
I needed to be able to play Blu-rays, and so
Yeah.
I feel like that was a great decision.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm taking the L on that. I forgot the S.
That's too bad.
That's because you're not really a gamer like that, though. Neither me and Spencer anymore. But I mean, I think we game more than you.
I don't think you were ever a gamer, Jordan.
No, I always was. Okay. Anything else?
That's it,
I don't
guys.
think so. So let's.
I want to tell the people just a sec, guys. I'm not a hater. I know when this comes out, folks are gonna be like,
"Oh yeah, definitely. You're about to get some hate. Yeah, you're about to get some of that.
Hey, bro. Hey, man. Look, good movie. An 8 is a very good score, right? But yeah, again, I would give it a fair grade, more updated grade in the group, the Facebook group, once I watch it for a second time.
Let this have been Captain America Across the Spider-Verse. This is the greatest thing I've ever watched.
That's why I love Captain America. We say boots to the
strays.
ground. We straight boots to the ground. You know what I mean? We out
Except
here,
for when he time traveled back to the past and
Yeah,
back
to accomplish
the
the
future
goal.
again.
But guess what? He didn't need a camera to follow him to do so.
Maybe he should have.
I would actually have loved to see
Yeah,
that.
me too. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, I would love to. Like if they literally announced it tomorrow, Captain America. Yeah, I would be in that thing front row. But
it'd be animated, and Brandon would be pissed.
I would be pissed. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Okay.
It's like why I'm saying, like, if the story started as animated, sure, but
It'd be
I don't
like,
like
what if.
That's another agenda. I do not like crossovers between live action, but that's a different story. It's a different story, a different day.
That I'm not mad about.
I hate it
because when I say I mean your feelings on it. Like I'm okay with it if we don't do that. Like we can keep those separate. Like, are we doing animation? Cool. Are we doing live action? Cool. But we don't need to merge the two.
The biggest one I think of is the Fairly Odd Parents. Where Drake was the Timmy. I was like, what are we doing?
I don't need that.
So why we're doing it? Yeah.
I think Star Wars is the only universe I've seen that does it well. However, I don't need that. Like, and I'm coming into Star Wars after. Like, if I was in the game during it, I would have probably not liked it. But like coming from Marvel, no, do not give me what if canon. I don't want that to be canon.
I think that the Clone Wars made the prequels better based on what I've heard.
Yeah, exactly. Like Clone Wars dove into things and did a lot of cleaning up for the trash that the prequels created, and they cleaned up a lot of that.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
Filoni.
So.
Yeah.
Anyway, is it Rotten Tomato time?
Rotten Tomato time. All right. So we are going to, if you're new to this review, this could be your first review. I have the Rotten Tomatoes scores in front of me. I have the critic score and the audience score, and I'm going to let Spencer and Brandon guess what the score is, and we are playing closest to the bucket without going over. So if they guess it right without going over, they win. I should have been keeping record. Dang it. Anyway.
We can go back and
yeah.
We've done several. There are so many reviews that need doing and that have been done. So yeah, we can. I don't know.
All right, Brandon, we'll start with you. We will start with the critic score. what do you think the critic score is?
It's a lot of cap energy around this movie. I'm gonna go 99.
Ooh.
There's 200. Currently, there are 252 reviews. So, Brandon, final answer 99.
Mm-hmm.
Spenser.
I don't think it. Well, I don't know because I honestly haven't heard much because I've been kind of avoiding it. So I'm gonna say the critics gave this a 96.
Okay. So currently with 252 reviews, you guys both busted, I will say, but the Rotten Tomato score is a 95%. So Spencer was
Okay.
closest, but you guys still went over. All right. Spencer, since you won that round, we will start with the audience score now. With over 5,000 plus verified reviews, what do you think the rank of the amount is?
Definitely 98.
98, sticking with it?
Mm-hmm.
Brandon, what do you think?
90, just for the game's sake, I'll do 96.
Wow, in an amazing
What
turn
did
of
what did your heart
events-
say though?
Yeah, what's your heart say?
I
So you chose
mean-
96. What do you really feel?
What would I give it?
No, what do you think the audience gave it?
I mean, the audience, again, 99, 100, probably. 99.
Okay, but
I feel like
But
if
you
it was
stuck in with
100, we
96.
would have accidentally heard about it. But
yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know too many hundreds out there.
Paddington 2 is the only one that I know about.
Paddington?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway. So with over 5,000 reviews, Brandon, you won this round. The audience score is currently sitting at 96%. You called it on the mark.
I knew it, man. I knew it.
That's impressive. I wonder if the next movie is going to be longer, though. I bet you it's going to be longer.
We'll see. I'd be fine with that.
Same. I
long as
cannot
they
wait to
don't-
get this Blu-ray, though. I want to see all the extras.
As long as it ain't to be continued, I'm good.
The second one?
The third one, as long as the third one
I
isn't
guess,
to be
yeah.
continued.
Yeah, if this my understanding is that this is supposed to be 3 parts, so or is supposed to be 2 parts. So if it ends up being 3 parts, then that's okay. What are we doing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't hear about that. Like, I knew they were making 2 movies, but I know it's going to be a part 1 and part 2.
Yeah, I didn't either. I just missed that one.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine.
Okay. Well, any other thoughts or anything else we want to talk about the movie, or is that it?
I think we covered it.
I do believe that we covered it. Yeah. I did notice that on the front of Gwen's drum, they were called the Mary Janes.
That's also from the comics. I knew that one from the comics.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's it. Rate and review us.
Yeah, I was gonna say, rate and review us on any of the streaming platforms that you use. We love to see your reviews. We love to read them. Just tell us how you really feel. If you like us, let us know. If you don't like us, let us know that too. I think we all are able to handle any type of critiques. So there's that. Also, be sure to let us know your feelings on the movie in our Facebook group at the League of Melanated Gentlemen podcast. And yeah.
Sure.
So we'll never duplicate it.
Always appreciate it.
And forever melanated.